Why I never go outside when it's raining at 3 a.m. The bone-chilling truth haunts me forever. It was a night like no other. The clock struck 3, and the rain hammered against the windows, drenching the world in a dismal chorus. People don't realize the darkness that lies behind that curtain of water, where secrets crawl like spiders in the shadows. I stood by my bedroom window, heart racing, locked in a silent battle with my fear. This was no ordinary rain. There was something lurking just out of sight, something that whispered my name. The thunder rolled, deep and menacing, shaking the very foundation of the house. My pulse quickened. I could almost hear the voices of those who never returned home, tales of vanished souls echoing in my mind. In my gut, a lead weight settled, a warning not to venture outside. My mother used to say, when it rains at 3, it's a sign to stay where you are. That night, I understood why. And then there was the figure. A silhouette dancing in the downpour, always just beyond my peripheral vision. It was there and then gone like a nightmare slipping through the cracks of reality. The flickering streetlight cast eerie shadows that twisted through the pouring rain, contorting into shapes that prodded my imagination. Was it just my mind playing tricks? Or was it something that had taken residence in my thoughts, feeding off my fear? Suddenly, an icy breeze swept through the room, and I shivered involuntarily. I turned to my phone, desperate for distraction, only to find a message blinking ominously. "You're running out of time." My stomach churned. Was this a prank? Or a sinister warning? Outside, the rain continued its relentless assault, drumming louder and louder, drowning out rational thought. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I turned back to the window, heart thumping like a drum. Was I imagining things, or had the figure from the rain turned toward me? The air thickened as an uncomfortable silence enveloped the world outside. The rain stopped, leaving only the echo of a heartbeat, my heartbeat. I leaned closer, searching for any hint of movement when suddenly, the lights flickered and went out. Darkness engulfed me. Panic seized me. What was I supposed to do? Should I call for help? Or stay silent? I could feel the shadows reaching out, pulling at my sanity. A noise soft, almost unnoticeable, drifted through the stillness. It was like whispering, the sound of secrets too dangerous to share. I stumbled back, my breath trapped in my throat. I had to know what lay beyond that door. But could I face it? Would the answer bring me solace or seal my fate? The figure was out there, waiting to unveil the truth. My heart raced, a mixture of dread and determination. I had a choice to make. Could I really stay inside, hiding from what awaited me? Or was it time to confront the ghost of my fears, even if it meant braving the storm? My heart was pounding against my chest like a desperate prisoner seeking escape. The darkness felt alive, wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. I couldn't ignore the whispers any longer. With each breath, the air shimmered with tension, electrified by the unknown. I took a cautious step toward the door, my hand trembling as it gripped the doorknob. The voices outside grew louder, echoing my own doubts. What if it was nothing? Whispered one side of my mind. What if you're walking straight into your doom? Countered the other. I hesitated, a shimmering moment teetering between safety and peril. The chilling wind slipped through the crack beneath the door, curling around my feet like a snake, urging me to open it. Fueled by fear and an unusual surge of resolve, I twisted the knob and opened the door. The heart of the storm surged in, a wave of energy that tugged at my very soul. Outside, the world was a shadowy blur, muted and ghostly in the shimmering light of the moon. Raindrops still pattered softly against the ground, but the relentless downpour had subsided, trading chaos for a haunting calm. Yet, something gnawed at my instinct, something primal, primal enough to make the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. Don't look back, I chanted to myself as I stepped onto the porch, the wooden boards creaking under my weight, protesting my audacity. I had imagined the figure's silhouette would vanish with daylight, but it lingered like a stain on my psyche. I ventured further into the night, driven by an unseen force. A whisper danced in my ear, carrying an urgency that ignited my fears. Find me, it beckoned, smooth and sinister. The call felt both enchanting and nightmarish. As I walked, the streetlights flickered like the last breaths of dying stars. Shadows twisted and lunged, taunting me with the specters of my imagination. My feet moved in rhythm with the beating of my heart, every thud a reminder that I was still alive. But for how long? Just around the corner, the voices said, you'll see the truth. My mind raced, grasping at fragments of courage while battling the suffocating dread clawing at my insides. The path was lined with branches reaching like skeletal fingers, begging me to turn back, to return to the safety of my home. Suddenly, among the trees I saw it, a fleeting glimpse, the figure once more, standing at the edge of the woods. My breath hitched. It was taller than I had imagined, draped in darkness. A flicker of recognition swept over me, the familiar outline, the haunting posture. Like an old friend I was desperate to forget. Help me, came the whisper again, stronger this time. It was laced with anguish, a cry for salvation wrapped in desperation. The figure remained motionless, the atmosphere thickening with unsaid tales. Could it be a love lost, a memory from my past, or something darker, lurking beneath the surface? I stood paralyzed, caught in a web of fear and curiosity. Could I approach the figure, unravel the mystery that had haunted me all my life? Or would it weave an even more sinister fate? Then, just as I summoned the courage to take a step forward, I felt an icy hand grip my shoulder, and the world spun into chaos. Now you'll never get away, a voice hissed in my ear, chilling my very soul. I spun around, but the figure was gone. All that remained was silence, heavy, suffocating silence. When I turned back to the woods, a different shadow emerged, looming larger and darker than the last. It was time to confront my past. But in doing so, what other horrors would I unknowingly unleash? The crumpling weight of dread returned, a palpable force in the dripping darkness around me. I froze, the haunting truth rattling through my mind. What more is out there? Before I could comprehend the depths of my fear, a scream erupted from somewhere in the distance. The scream sliced through the stillness, a high-pitched wail that echoed across the abandoned street. My heart sank, bringing with it a wave of sickening dread. It was a sound that seemed to reverberate in my bones, urging me to act yet paralyzing me with fear. What nightmare had been unleashed? I squinted into the gloom, trying to pinpoint the source of the terror. The trees swayed as though sharing in the horror, their branches undulating like twisted hands clawing at the sky. A sense of urgency roared within me. Something was wrong. Someone was in danger. Without thinking, I broke into a run, feet pounding against the damp earth, each step heavy with the weight of the night. My breath came in short bursts, a fateful rhythm against the silence that followed me, tainted with an undercurrent of despair. Don't go alone! A voice shouted from behind me, but I brushed it off. I was already lost in my thoughts, fueled by adrenaline and that persistent whisper in my ear. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't abandon whoever was calling out for help. I swerved around the bend, deeper into the darkness of the trees. Each shadow felt alive, transformed by my fear. I hesitated momentarily, noticing small specks of moonlight filtering through the leaves, illuminating the path ahead like a twisted guide. It told me to keep moving, and then I saw her, a figure hunched near a tree, her hair clinging to her face, soaked by the remnants of rain. She looked up, eyes hollow and haunted, glistening with tears that sparkled under the sporadic moonlight. "Help me!" she cried, her voice barely more than a rasp. The agony in her tone sliced through me. "What happened?" I gasped, my breath hitching. "The shadows, they're coming for me." She clawed at the ground, desperation spilling over. "You have to run. You don't understand." Before she could finish, an inky darkness surged from the depths of the woods, slithering like a serpent, coiling around her ankles. I felt a chill wash over me, a sense of impending doom tightening its grip around my throat. Instinct kicked in. I lunged forward, grasping her wrist, yanking her back just as the darkness snapped at her feet. "Hold on!" I shouted. But the cold substance pulsed, dragging my feet into the lurking void. "Let go!" she screamed, her eyes now wide with horror. "No! I want to leave you!" My chest tightened as I pulled with everything I had, but the shadows whispered insidiously, and I heard them clearly now, making promises and threats that clouded my mind. In that eerie standoff, I caught sight of something malevolent lurking just beyond the trees, something that felt achingly familiar and ancient, and a chilling realization coursed through me. This was not just about her, it was about me. The night funneled the memories I had buried deep, the unspoken fears and traumas that I thought had been locked away. With a desperate scream, I wrested my focus from the shadows, forcing my mind to break the grip they had on my heart. "Fight it!" I yelled to her, and to myself. Together! Suddenly, a blinding light burst forth from within me, illuminating the dark tendrils like a flame igniting dry wood. It was pure energy, driven by the love and resilience I had kept hidden. The darkness recoiled, hissing in rage, as my surroundings shifted, wrapping us both in a cocoon of safety. "Now!" I yelled, pulling her towards me. We dashed away from the monstrous shadows, feet flying through the brambles, desperate to escape the encroaching void. Just as I thought we had broken free, the echo of mocking laughter rippled through the trees, chilling us to the bone. "You've only delayed the inevitable," the voice sneered. My heart dropped at the realization. This was just the beginning. I glanced at her, and we shared a moment of understanding, the weight of our pasts looming over us like a storm cloud. What were we up against? The question trailed off into the night as we stumbled back to the street, but the forest behind us felt alive, pulsating with dark energy, hinting at more hidden secrets. "Why is it after us?" she whispered, fear swimming in her eyes. I didn't have an answer. Yet deep within me, I sensed we had awakened something ancient, something that would stop at nothing to reclaim what it had lost, and we were its target. As we caught our breath, I looked back at the woods, a vision of terror forming. There, among the trees, shadows seemed to writhe, taking shapes, dark forms emerging with intent. And then it hit me, the truth of who they were and why I'd never gone outside when it rained at 3 a.m. Before I could voice my revelation, the forest erupted with screams, each one more dreadful than the last. The screams pierced the air, a cacophony of terror that seemed to claw at my sanity. I turned to the girl beside me. Her eyes, wide with fear, mirrored the chaos that erupted from the woods, a stark reminder of the danger lurking just beyond. "Run!" I shouted, my voice strained with urgency. We stumbled backward, feet slipping on the muddy path as the darkness from the trees reached out toward us, tendrils wrapping around the air like living vines. "Where?" she gasped, glancing over her shoulder, paralyzed by panic. "Anywhere but here." My heart raced, each beat urging us to escape. I pulled her along, adrenaline pumping through my veins, yet doubt gnawed at the edges of my mind. What were we running from? The world felt askew, an unfamiliar landscape painted in shades of dread. I could almost hear whispers crawling from the shadows, taunting us, reminding us of our fears, the unfinished stories we tried to bury. As we rounded a bend, my feet faltered, scanning for a safe direction. The street ahead stretched out, lonely and desolate, a stark contrast to the chaos behind us. The houses stood like silent watchers, darkened windows glowing faintly with repressed memories. I hesitated, feeling the pull of the ominous void behind us. "We need to hide," I breathed, urgency igniting desperation. "Over there." She pointed to a dilapidated house, its door hanging ajar. We darted inside, hearts pounding in unison as we collapsed against the wall, holding our breaths. Silence enveloped us, thick and heavy, weighing down on my chest. I strained to listen, tuning in for any signs of pursuit. The hush felt unnatural, an emptiness where screams had just been. "What is happening?" she finally whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know," I replied, anxiety tightening my throat. The shadows outside were closing in, but this time, it felt like they were waiting. Waiting for something. For us. I turned my gaze toward the shattered window, and a flash of movement caught my eye. Dark forms flitted just outside, slipping in and out of view, as if testing the very air that separated us. My stomach turned. This wasn't just a fear, it was a reckoning. Do you hear that? Her eyes darted around, searching for something tangible in the oppressive quiet. Footsteps echoed in the distance, deliberate and slow, a chilling reminder that we were not alone. My fingers curled into fists. Please don't make a sound, I urged, my breath hitching. A shadow flickered across the window. It was close, too close, and then a loud crash. The door behind us burst open, splintering wood exploding into the room. The dark shapes poured through like ancient smoke, swirling and twisting, engulfing the space with dread. I pulled the girl closer, shielding her as best I could. Stay back! I shouted, but the shadows surged, ignoring my pleas. They coiled around us, cold and suffocating, feeding off our fear. The girl's hands gripped my arms, her nails digging in, panic radiating between us. Suddenly, I remembered the light. The energy within me. I summoned it, drawing on a strength I didn't fully understand. My heart pounded, fueling the blaze inside. Fight! I yelled, igniting the air around us. Light burst forth from my being, illuminating the darkness as I unleashed it into the abyss. The shadows hissed, recoiling from the brightness. For a brief moment, I felt invincible. The power surged through me, pushing against the dark figures. But then I felt at the pull of something deeper, more sinister. A weight that stole the light, dragging it back into the void. No! I cried out, losing my grip, the light flickering dangerously. Help me! She screamed, her voice wavering as the shadows clawed at her, desperate to consume their prize. Hold on! I gasped, a surge of determination flooding my veins as I fought to maintain the light. But just as quickly as it had come, the strength began to recede. Despair clawed at my heart, twisting it in anguish. The last vestiges of daylight reminded me of a childhood mantra, a defense against the darkness. Bonfire nights, collective warmth in a world full of shadows. And just like that, I understood this wasn't merely survival. This was a battle against my own history, my own nightmares. Together. I screamed at the shadows, at the girl, at myself. But in the chaos, echoes of laughter began to fill the room, deep, guttural, buoyed by the weight of our memories. I realized then that the shadows weren't just hunting us. They were feeding on our past, our regrets. And as I prepared for what lay ahead, I knew the fight was far from over. Where are you? I called out into the unforgiving void, and in response, the laughter grew, chilling me to my core as the shadows poised themselves, ready to claim what was theirs. I took a deep breath, fully aware that this time, we weren't just fighting for our lives. We were fighting for our souls. What would be lost if we succumbed to the dark? The shadows surged forward, ravenous and alive, their twisted forms writhing with hungry anticipation. I could feel their weight crushing down on us, a darkness that crept into my bones. The girl beside me trembled, her wide eyes glistening with unshed tears. I squeezed her hand, desperate to keep her close, to remind us both that we were still here. Focus on the light, I whispered, recalling that flicker of energy inside me. I needed to believe it could push back the encroaching night. I needed her to believe it too. The shadows recoiled like frightened animals at the sunlight, but it was fleeting. This was a game of tug-of-war, the abyss whispering sweet promises of surrender. The laughter twisted around us, mocking our fear as if it found joy in our pain. I could almost see their faces beneath the dark, twisted creation's former smiles turned sinister. Together! I shouted again, and as those words echoed in the hollow room, they ignited something deep within me. The flames of my memories licked at the edges of my consciousness, boiling just beneath the surface. I recalled friends gathered around bonfires, their laughter brightening even the darkest nights. Sharing stories of past fears, of dreams that lingered beyond the shadows. Please! The girl's voice pulled me back, laden with a raw, pleading edge. She gripped my arm tighter. I could sense her hope wavering, teetering on the brink of despair. I looked at her and saw not just fear but also recognition, a shared understanding of the lurking darkness. "We won't let them take us," I declared, my voice rising above the swirling dread. In a fierce surge of will, I closed my eyes and concentrated on the core of warmth within me. I was more than fear, I was courage. With each breath, I wove strands of light into a protective barrier. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as if stung. But just as I thought I had them at bay, the ground trembled, and the air grew colder, clammy fingers of icy dread curling into my heart. An abyssal roar-like wave crashed through the makeshift sanctuary, extinguishing that hard-won light. "No!" I cried, panic flaring. The laughter intensified, a raucous symphony of despair, spiraling around us once more. "Let go of her!" I shouted, seeing a dark mass whip toward her and engulf her small form. I lunged forward, rage surging hotter than before. My body weight smashed against the mass, desperate to break the connection, desperate to shield her from the darkness. For a blinding moment, everything faded. My surroundings fell silent, and I was engulfed by a blizzard of memories, the essence of every regret, every encounter that had brought darkness into my life. Faces flickered in and out like haunted phantoms, each pain melding into one heavy shroud. I began to scream, not just from fear, but from the anguish of 1,000 restless spirits clamoring for separation. All my past mistakes and lost opportunities unfolded before me, the shadows feeding off that pain. Then, without warning, I saw the girl. The fear in her eyes was a mirror, reflecting my own. My heart fractured, and with sheer will, I grasped tighter onto the remnant light gleaming brighter than before. "Look at me!" I yelled over the rising tide of despair. "Don't you let them win!" She met my gaze, and for a moment, I saw the flicker of hope revive in her eyes. "Together," she whispered, and there, in that fragile connection, a surge of warmth enveloped us, illuminating the darkness like wildfire consuming grass. We channeled everything we were, the fears, the regrets, and crafted them into a weapon against the shadows. Yet as the light expanded, something more powerful and malevolent stirred in the depths of the void. A face emerged, a visage pale and twisted, seemingly forged from the collective agony we had conjured. It was watching us with malevolent pleasure. "What is this?" it hissed, a voice like grinding stone, echoing with the sound of torment. I braced myself, feeling the cold breath of fear brush against my skin. A new wave of shadows pooled, spiraling intensely, as though sensing the shift in power. "We are not alone anymore," the figure snarled. My grip tightened around the girl's hand. I understood then that the shadows had their own history, an echo of all who had fought, losing their light amidst the suffocating dark. But together we were stronger. "How do we fight?" I asked, my voice steady, as we faced the advancing tide of terror. And as the shadows bore down on us, I realized the battle was no longer just about survival. It was a revelation. A war against everything we had failed to confront. But the question echoed back at me: could we truly prevail against such consuming darkness? The answer felt dangerously close, teetering on the cusp of revelation or vanishing entirely. The shadows swirled, coalescing into dark figures that beckoned with twisted fingers, luring us back toward despair. The chilling whispers enveloped us, promising an escape from the pain, a release from the fight. I could feel the weight of their history, their knowledge of failure, clawing at my resolve. "Don't listen!" I shouted, hoping that my voice could pierce through the suffocating fog of grief. The girl's hand trembled in mine, but she squeezed back, grounding me against the wave of cold uncertainty that surged around us. "Remember the light," she murmured, her eyes blazing with a flicker of defiance. It was a stark contrast to the darkness creeping around us, stealing hope one breath at a time. With a deep breath, I concentrated on the warmth that had ignited when we first connected. I searched for that spark within, desperate to fan its flames into life. The shadows slithered closer, casting grotesque shapes that danced around us, playing tricks on our minds. But I knew better. They were illusions meant to manipulate our fears. "Together," I said again, and this time the word felt different. It reverberated with an intensity that shattered the chasms of silence. In that moment, I reached deep, summoning every ounce of courage I could muster. A radiant light surged from us like the dawn breaking through the night. It was a raw, untamed blaze fueled by our combined strength, the memories of laughter, love, and raw resilience. The shadows recoiled violently, shrieking as the light seared their fabric. But the pale figure at the center of the maelstrom twisted, its eyes glinting with malice. "You cannot escape!" it roared, the ground beneath us trembling with its fury. "You are mine!" The ground shifted, cracking under the weight of its dark magic, but I refused to back down. "We are not yours!" I yelled, each word a challenge. "You don't own our pain!" As if driven by my defiance, the light expanded further, bright and chaotic, dispersing the shadows like mist in the sun. The girl at my side intensified her focus, feeding off my resolve. We were an unstoppable force, bound by our determination to fight the darkness in front of us. Yet, as the shadows fled, the figure snarled. "You think you can conquer me? I am the heart of your despair." It lunged forward, its gnarled fingers stretching, seeking to grasp our light. In that moment of desperation, I realized it wasn't about defeating the shadows outside, it was about confronting the darkness within. The regrets, the shame, the fears that chained us down. "Face it!" I shouted, my voice echoing through the chaos. "Every regret, every fear, every mistake, I own them. They won't break me." The pale figure paused, confusion flickering across its ghostly face. I felt the girl surge beside me, steadying our resolve. "We are stronger than you," she whispered fiercely. "We won't let you win." The shadows trembled at the proclamation. Suddenly their laughter turned to an anguished wail, reverberating around us like thunder. Both of us pushed forward, our hands raised, the light coalescing into a brilliant orb that surged with the energy of our shared strength. But just as it seemed we were gaining ground, the figure clawed at the very fabric of our light. "You can't fight what you are!" it screamed, disbelief morphing into rage. As the darkness surged back, trying to reclaim its hold, I felt a cold truth dawning. "No," I whispered, realizing something shocking. There was a part of me that still feared giving in to the light. In that split second, the shadows began to envelop me again, tendrils of doubt and regret spiraling around my legs, anchoring me in uncertainty. "Help me!" I gasped, feeling the weight of my inner battle begin to drag me down. "I don't want to lose this fight." The girl tightened her grip on my hand. "Just believe." Her words surged through me, igniting the flicker of hope once more. I could feel her spirit, unwavering and fierce, battling through the haze of shadows. But as the pressure mounted, so did the figure's smile, sinister and knowing. "What will you choose?" it taunted. "Embrace the darkness once more, or let the light burn you to ash?" The time for a decision was upon me, and as darkness clawed at my thoughts, I felt the ground quake beneath our feet. My heart raced. Would I finally confront my demons, or would I surrender to the retribution of shadows? The choice sat heavily in the air, echoing through my very soul, and somewhere in that turmoil, a path forward flickered dimly, just out of reach. The shadows pressed closer, suffocating and hungry. Panic threatened to choke me as I struggled against the claws of doubt. The pale figure loomed large before us, its ghastly grin widening, baring teeth that looked like broken glass. Each jagged edge gleamed with cruel anticipation. "Choose wisely," it hissed, voice dripping with venom. Its eyes, empty and hollow, seemed to hold a universe of torment. I could feel their weight, the history of pain and rejection swirling around us like a storm. "Don't," the girl urged, her voice steady despite the chaos. "We have fought too hard to give in now." Even as courage surged through me, I felt the shadows' whispers creeping back, promising comfort in despair, tempting me to sink back into a familiar numbness. The memories, my regrets, my failures, they echoed in my mind like a funeral dirge. I was paralyzed, caught between my past and the flicker of light that still glowed alongside the girl. "Face the truth," I shouted, forcing the words past the fear that threatened to engulf me. I wasn't just battling the figure. I was confronting the thoughts that gnawed at my soul. "I'm not alone in this fight." The shadows recoiled momentarily. The girl's hand was a lifeline, anchoring me to the present, but I felt her strength wavering. "It's okay to be scared," she said softly, eyes glistening under the dark veil. "But we must choose to rise." A flicker of resolve ignited between us, a bond forged in shared pain. The light we had created pulsed, fighting back against the darkness. I fixed my gaze on the pale figure, allowing every ounce of emotion to wash over me. Anger. Fear. Hope. Taking a steadying breath, I stepped forward, my voice cutting through the fog. I refused to be defined by my pain. The declaration felt like thunder, reverberating through the ground beneath us. "Foolish mortals!" the figure shrieked. It lunged, darker tendrils wrapping around my legs like chains. They pulled, threatening to drag me back into despair's depths. "You think you can conquer what is in your hearts? You are nothing without your suffering." I trembled, feeling the weight of its words trying to sink into my marrow. But a flicker of rebellion sparked inside me. I wasn't just fighting for myself, I was fighting for the girl beside me, for a future untethered from regret, for moments not yet lived. "Together," I shouted, clenching her hand tighter. "We rise together!" With that voice of unity, the light surged again, brighter than before. It crackled with intensity, pushing back the encroaching shadows like a tidal wave against the shore. The dark figure recoiled, its form flickering in the face of our defiance, fury twisting its features. But just as victory seemed near, a crack tore through the fabric of reality. The ground split beneath us, a chasm opening wide and dark beneath our feet. A gust of wind shot past me, carrying the scent of earth and ink like the remnants of long-buried fears. "Embrace it!" the figure howled amidst the chaos, its voice rising to a fever pitch. "You'll never escape your true nature." I felt the pull of the abyss beneath me, the fear of the darkness threatening to claim me once more. It called out in siren whispers, drowning out the light, trying to drown out my resolve. What if I choose wrong? Gold flecks appeared in the whirlpool of light, glimmering like stars fighting against the encroaching night. The girl's eyes met mine, fierce and unwavering. "Don't listen to it. Our choice is ours alone." Her voice pierced through the maelstrom. It was a lifeline. In that instant, clarity washed over me. I held my ground, channeling all the pain, all the hope into one single thought: I was enough. The darkness rumbled, the figure howling in outrage. "Let go, and be free." As the shadows clawed desperately for control, I drew from the depths of my being, unleashing a fierce burst of light from within. The brilliance expanded, engulfing us, flooding the chasm, breaking the chains of doubt once and for all. But as the shadows faded into the depths, the malicious figure let out one last, bone-chilling howl and vanished into a flicker of smoke. We were left standing at the edge of the abyss, breathless, hearts racing. But the ground beneath us trembled. The battle hadn't truly ended. The girl turned to me, eyes wide with realization. "Are you ready for the truth?" But before I could respond, a massive quake shook the earth, pulling us back to the edge of that abyss, a vortex of darkness swirling back to claim us. The pull was relentless. Would we fall, or would we finally ascend? The choice loomed once more, and everything inside me screamed for an answer. The ground shook violently, and I felt the air grow thick with despair. Desperation clawed at my throat as I grasped the thin thread of hope that echoed through the chaos. "We can't let it take us!" I yelled, voice wavering under the pressure. The chasm gaped wide, the darkness swirling in a whirlwind of black tendrils, eager to swallow us whole. I watched as the girl's face paled, her determination faltering for just a moment. My heart raced, fear clawing nails into my sanity. Then, deep in the abyss, a flash of light caught my eye, a flickering image, almost like a memory. "Wait! Look!" I pointed, desperate to distract her from the weight of our impending doom. Words began to echo from the depths, whispering not just of chaos but of choices long forgotten. "Every choice is a reflection," the voice murmured, curling around us like a serpent. "You can't escape what you are." "No!" I roared. "I refuse to let that define me." I tightened my grip on her hand, feeling her pulse quicken, catching her wavering spirit. "Focus!" she cried, eyes blazing with newfound fire, but the darkness continued to pull us closer, hungry for what we represented. I fought back against the encroaching void, summoning every ounce of my being. With a surge of energy, I began to channel everything I had: the pain, the loss, the regret, but also the strength I drew from the girl beside me. "We are more than our fears!" I shouted. The light at my core blazed brighter, stronger. The shadows hissed, writhing like snakes, but they recoiled as our collective will pushed against them. Every ounce of doubt shook loose, fading like mist in the warm sun. The specter of the dark figure writhed helplessly at the edge of the chasm, its form disintegrating under the weight of our rising flames. "Together!" the girl cried, her voice ringing with unyielding power. We stepped closer to the edge, the brilliance of our united light beginning to fill the gap, pushing back the shadows. "We choose light!" I yelled, feeling the truth saturate every fiber of my being. But as our illumination surged, the air crackled with tension. The figure roared in rage, its desperate howl reverberating through the chasm, distorting the very fabric of reality. "You will pay the price for your insubordination!" The ground shook again with a finality that threatened to tear us apart. Jagged rocks burst forth from the fissures in the earth, the sound like shattering glass, echoing through the landscape. I stumbled, dizzy from the swelling chaos and my own emotions, but I didn't let go. The girl's heartbeat matched the rapid rhythm of my own. Her determination seemed to wrap around me like armor. "Keep fighting!" she urged, her voice piercing through the whirlwind. Then, the shadows seemed to split, revealing a door behind them, an exit amid the chaos. With one final push, our light illuminated the doorway, beacons of hope against despair. "That's it!" I shouted, adrenaline surging through me. "We can escape!" But the moment the shadows perceived our intent, they lashed out, grasping at us with twisting tendrils, threatening to draw us back. My heart pounded in my chest, every instinct screaming to pull away. "Now!" the girl shouted, and we lunged forward into the light together. A wave of energy washed over us as we crossed the threshold, the pull of the abyss snapping behind us like a lost dream, and for a heartbeat, I felt triumphant. We had escaped, but as I turned to catch my breath, my heart sank. The girl stood stock still, staring back at the closing chasm, horror etched across her face. What if it comes back?" she murmured, her voice cracking. In that moment, a cold realization gripped me. What if the darkness wasn't gone? What if it followed us? And just as the light began to illuminate our surroundings, a distant, hollow laughter echoed in the air, chilling my spine. It hadn't ended. Not yet. I drew in a shaky breath as panic circled my mind. The laughter was haunting, like the echo of a ghost from memories best left buried. I glanced around, trying to understand where we were. The world had shifted in an instant. The light enveloped us, but it felt fragile now, like a thin veil hanging in a storm. Shadows clung to the edges, lurking just beyond the brightness. I turned to the girl, her eyes wide and wild, swirling with uncertainty. What if I started, the weight of her fear pressing down on my chest? What if we're not safe? The laughter persisted, teasing us, taunting us. It rolled over the ground like smoke, curling around our ankles. What did it mean by paying the price? I whispered, feeling a lump harden in my throat. "Don't think like that," she snapped back, but I could hear her resolve flickering, much like the dim light surrounding us. "We have to keep moving. Just stay close, okay?" I nodded, but my heart raced, the rhythm pounding inside my skull. Together, we took a hesitant step forward. The surroundings were strange, ethereal. The ground was soft beneath my feet, pulsating like a heartbeat. Every direction looked the same, hazy mist and shadow blending together. "Where are we?" I murmured, desperation creeping into my voice. The girl squinted into the fog. "I don't know, but we have to find a way out." I stumbled after her, the cold dread sinking deep into my bones. I could feel the shadows thickening around us, alive and hungry, seeking a crack in our hope. Each gust of wind felt like a whisper, warning us of what lingered in the unknown. As we pressed forward, the laughter shifted. It was no longer a distant echo but rang louder, closer, wrapping around our fears. Make a choice. It sang, its tone mocking, gleeful. My insides churned with dread. What choice? I snapped, my frustration boiling over. What are you talking about? Every choice is a reflection. The hushed voice spoke again, this time more urgent. It wasn't he in the shadows, but inside my head. You can't escape what you are. No! I screamed, the sound breaking through the torment. My voice was swallowed in the mist. We won't do this. We're not defined by our choices. Then prove it. The shadow's laughter morphed into a shriek, almost echoing my thoughts, tapping into my deepest insecurities. Don't listen to it, the girl yelled, gripping my arm. Her voice was trembling, but a glimmer of defiance flickered in her eyes. We rushed forward, but the laughter evolved, chillingly close now, wrapping around us like a noose. The ground beneath us began to tremble, shifting like quicksand. I felt as though we were being tested, as if the shadows were not just malevolent but were looking for weakness. Suddenly, the ground split. A deeper darkness opened before us, a void, undulating as if breathing. You're running from your shadows, it whispered. You will pay the price for your rebellion. Terror gripped me like ice, tearing at my resolve. What does it want? I choked out, battling the urge to retreat into the light. It wants us to give in, the girl shouted. But we can't. We have to fight. Resolute, I pulled her closer. We are stronger than this. The light is in us. But as our voices rose, the shadows surged, enveloping us in a tempest of despair. The laughter crescendoed, and dread clawed at my thoughts. What happens if we fail? I gasped, body trembling with an unshakable fear. With an unrelenting roar, a wave of darkness surged toward us, our light flickering like a failing bulb. I could feel the uncertainty creeping back, but I held tight, determined not to let go. And just as the shadows crashed down, I saw something, a flicker of light in the darkness. It pulsed like a heartbeat, insistent and alive. Just a little longer, I shouted, squeezing the girl's hand tightly. But as we focused on the light, the laughter transformed into something else entirely, a sinister chant, chanting our names, echoing through the void, unraveling confidence, destabilizing our very being. Will you embrace what you fear? It taunted, and in that instant I knew we were faced with a choice more powerful than we could have imagined. Would we embrace our worst parts to truly escape the terror, or would we fight it until our last breath? Time hung thick as we teetered at the edge, lost in the swirling shadows, not knowing which path would lead us to salvation or doom. What would we finally choose? The shadows rolled closer, almost palpable in their hunger. My heart raced as I anchored myself in the moment, letting the feelings wash over me like icy rain, mingled with the warmth of hope. We will face it, I screamed, forcing the barriers of despair to tremble beneath the weight of my resolve. Together, the girl echoed, her voice a fierce embankment rising against the tide of torment. I turned toward the darkness flooding our space, a seething mass fueled by anguish and lost memories. Deep down, I knew what it wanted, our fear, our pain, but also our truth. Look! I shouted, pointing toward that insistent flicker of light that pulsed just out of reach, vibrant against the encroaching shadows. It's us! It's what we carry! Remember, within every regret is the seed of resilience. The laughter twisted, echoing sharply, desperate to root us back in dread. Nothing can save you! It screeched, but I could feel the cracks appear in its voice. In each cackle, I heard the echoes of my own past. The lies I had told myself surfaced, but rather than close my eyes in dread, I leaned into the truth. Then I sensed a shift. My memories surged, pulling forth the warmth of laughter shared, moments cherished even in despair. With renewed strength, I spoke, each word loud and clear. We are not just our fears. We are our hopes, our dreams. The shadows recoiled, the darkness whispering sweet nothings turned to angry hisses, desperately fighting against the light now manifesting between us. You can't win, you're still prisoners of your past. The girl's grip tightened, and I could see her searching, her mind racing. We can't let it define us, she asserted, her voice unwavering. We choose what we become. With mutual understanding, we stepped closer to the light, bridging the gap with the little courage we had left. The energy throbbed, illuminating our surroundings, the darkness visibly retreating. I felt each ounce of strength multiply as our joint wishes combined, scarred hearts alight with purpose. Stronger together, she shouted again, and my heart felt lighter as our determination resonated, rippling through the air. The shadows screamed, recoiling as we moved forward, filling with vulnerability, but standing tall in defiance. We embrace the past, but it does not have power over us, I bellowed, feeling the heat swelling within me, recalling every ounce of love, every moment of triumph. The warmth expanded outward, flooding the shadows, merging pain with possibility. I felt the echoes of 1,000 screams amalgamate within the light, releasing with a freedom I had never known. The ground shook and the malevolent figure shuddered, its cries morphing into eternal howls of anguish, each layer of darkness dispelling beneath the waves of our combined resolve. You will not take our souls! I roared into the abyss, watching the shadows dissipate, unraveling like old threads pulled from fabric. We reached the flicker at the center, and it exploded into brilliance, enveloping us both in a cocoon of warmth and truth. I felt weightless, the air freshly ignited, meandering through the remnants of despair we shed. For a moment, the world faded away, no longer bound by darkness. I looked at the girl, and in her eyes I saw the reflection of a battle won, a collective sigh of relief. Together, we had turned away from our pasts and into something new. The air shimmered, as if fondling our souls in a warm embrace. We had faced the abyss and survived. But even as I basked in the light, a thought lingered. The laughter had faded, but it still echoed. It will come back, I murmured, the notion heavy in the air. Then we'll be ready. Her voice echoed with unwavering faith. We stood shoulder to shoulder, learning that every rain at 3 might come again, but now we had arms to shield us from the deluge. With renewed strength, we took that first step forward, entwined in a bond forged from light and darkness. No more ghosts stalked our paths because we had faced them, head on, delivered reckoning to our fears, and revealed hope in their place. As dawn crested, the day broke over us, glimmering with endless possibilities, a promise that tomorrow would always find us braver. And just like that, in that moment of fragile calm, I knew we had rewritten the ending. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories coming your way. This is the moment to show your support by smashing the like button now. Let us feed the algorithm together. I want you to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see it. Let's spread the light.